In the shadow of the World Economic Forum 2002 in New York City, labor activists and union leaders joined together to protest the use of sweatshop labor in factories producing for the Gap.
Sofia Sasso from Guatemala.
My name is Sofia Sasso, and I've worked in the garment factories that produce Gap clothing for several years. A lot of people think that Gap clothing is so elegant, so beautiful, without knowing the reality in which we live, that we suffer from the making of these clothes.
Sofia Sasso traveled to New York City from Guatemala to raise awareness about the plight of the garment factory worker. The Gap, which also owns Banana Republic, Old Navy, Gap Kids, and Gap Body, is one of the giant U.S. retailers that controls the global apparel industry.
The reason that we are demanding the rights of our friends and co-workers is because although the company is making profits, the people who are working so hard in these factories don't get to share those profits. They just want to be able to provide better living conditions to their children.
Sofia used to work at Shin, a factory located a half-hour south of Guatemala City. Shin's biggest client is the Gap. The workers of Shin, Sofia's colleagues, have said the factory is forcing them to work overtime, often without pay, and keeps them at poverty wages. When speaking about their experiences at Shin, the workers insisted on remaining anonymous for fear of losing their jobs.
For me to work in Shin is stressful, but very necessary. We are often not paid for overtime. I do calculations in my head that I have worked 32 hours of overtime during the pay period, but when I receive my paycheck, I see that they are only paying me for 23 hours of overtime. When I approach them about this, they say that they will make up the hours in the next pay cycle. Yet when the next pay cycle comes, the overtime hours are still missing. But if you want to continue working there, you can't do anything.
Almost every day we had to stay very late. On Fridays, we would stay until 4 a.m. We would often take pills that give you energy just so that we could make it through those long hours at the factory.
Shin is one of thousands of factories located in over 60 countries that produces clothing for the Gap. These factories compete to offer the lowest cost of production to the Gap Corporation. In the year 2000, the Gap netted sales of $13.7 billion. Meanwhile, the wages paid to the workers of Shin ensure that they will never rise above the poverty line.
The truth is that you can't improve your economic situation at the maquila factory because they exploit you. You work and work, but your salary is always the same. It doesn't get any better.
Many of Shin workers live here in the squatter area of Villanueva, where most of the homes are nothing more than corrugated iron shacks.
Many of my friends work in the garment factories. Most of them are in great need. The places where they live are very poor. Many of them are single mothers, and they are lucky that they at least have a place to live.
Maura, a garment factory worker and mother of two, lives in a one-room shack with a courtyard in front. She has no running water, no electricity, and an open sewer runs out into the dirt street from her house. After leaving her job at Shin, Sofia decided that she wanted to try to better workers' lives and to improve the abusive working conditions that she had suffered. So she became a union organizer dedicated to the workers of Shin.
The women work, and the factories treat them as if they are nothing more than production machines. Since many of the workers do not know much about laws, they also do not know that they have rights. So as an organizer, that is what I do. I go to the workers to explain to them how we organize and how they will benefit from organizing. We show them what we can win if we are organized.
Sofia's decision to become a union organizer poses many new dangers for her and her family. Because although Guatemalan law dictates the right to freedom of association, there are currently no unions in any garment factory.
Afilian a un sindicato.
The factories tell workers that if they join a union, that they will lose their jobs. They tell them that they will be responsible if the factories close. They often have union members kidnapped, and there have been cases where union members have been kidnapped and are never found. People assume that they have been killed. So workers are intimidated, and they are made afraid.
Because of this fear and injustice, and in order to shed light on the conditions endured by the average worker in Guatemalan garment factories, Sophia came to New York.
This is not justice. We want a dignified salary. We want to be treated like human beings. We don't want to be treated like slaves anymore.
We are for living wages!
Labor activists like Sophia Sazo will continue to speak out against the Gap and its factories like Shin in solidarity with apparel workers' unions like Unite and the AFL-CIO to protest unfair labor practices. For more information, go to www.behindthelabel.org or contact your local Unite chapter.